Welcome to the program In Search of Truth. I'm Seymour Mehmedov and we are going to discuss the current situation in Afghanistan. It's about the Taliban who seized power in a short time so quickly. So my questions today will be answered by Ahmad Wali Massoud, founder and president of Massoud Foundation. He has served as Afghan ambassador to the United Kingdom, special representative of Ahmad Shah Massoud in Europe. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Massoud.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Massoud, the Taliban recognized as a terrorist organization in 1999 by the United Nations Security Council seized power in Afghanistan. A terrorist organization is running Afghanistan today. Personally, I have nothing against the Taliban. I stand for peace and stability in Afghanistan. But I am wondering and not entirely clear how the Taliban were able to come to power so quickly. Why did the United Nations and large countries that consider the Taliban a terrorist organization allow them to come to power?
Thank you very much. Well, let me say that, of course, in all of what happens for the past few months, the role of the United States is very important, very crucial. What happened that at the end of the day, that was Dr. Khalizad representing the United States who signed an agreement 1.5 years ago with the Taliban. In that agreement, from that agreement onward, they started to deliver the power to the Taliban. So it is not that the Taliban themselves came, just took the power by force, but was arranged by Dr. Khalizad, Dr. Ghani, and some others to really transfer the power to the Taliban. So the United States role have been very crucial, very important. But at the same time, of course, as you all know, that United States role in the United Nations is very important as well. You are absolutely right that a group which were called terrorists, but after 20 years, it comes from Taliban to Taliban. Again, the same scenario repeated. So we all know that inside Afghanistan, that was the role of the United States, which was very crucial to transfer the power to the Taliban.
Mr. Massoud, the Taliban came to power without elections, referendum. The vast majority of Kabul residents are not happy with the presence of the Taliban in power, and some have even fled Afghanistan. Moreover, as I mentioned earlier, they came to power very quickly. What conclusion can be drawn from this? The fact that the Taliban came to power without the support of their electorate, the Afghan people. If everything looks as I described, the question will be what forces helped the Taliban to seize power? Whose countries' interests will they serve?
Well, of course, as I mentioned before, that the one who really kind of helped the Taliban to take over, that was Dr. Khalizad, representing the United States in the name of peace. At the same time, of course, Dr. Ghani and his colleagues in Kabul, they also were part of the process to transfer the power to the Taliban. The fleeing of Dr. Ghani was arranged beforehand, when he should really leave the palace, when he should go. And so therefore, these sort of things were arranged prior to anything else. So unfortunately, the whole thing was a part of a big conspiracy, what happens in Afghanistan. That is not that because Taliban was so powerful to defeat all the countries and take over. That's not the case, because you can see for the past 3 months, 4 months, the campaign of the Taliban, that came so fast, so quickly, that all of these things were arranged to deliver hundreds of guns and tanks and armament and everything to the force of the Taliban without any fight. It was not that because of the army of Afghanistan were not able to fight. Of course, they were able to fight, but it was arranged by the military leadership as well as political leadership of Afghanistan to really deliver the whole thing to the Taliban. That was kind of the role of this country. Now, of course, there has been some other circles also involved. For example, there were some groups which were connected to international terrorism. They were also part of the Taliban. They were kind of a big force behind the Taliban to really kind of guide them, to really help them to come to Kabul. So it has been a really kind of a very big scenario.
How is today's Taliban different from the Taliban that was in power 20 years ago? How are they going to develop Afghanistan? What do you think about
Well,
that?
the Taliban is the same Taliban, and the difference is that this time came also with the violence. They came to really go with the same ideology. They have got the same theology and all of that. And it's not much difference like that. But the only difference is that this time the power was delivered to them, just like that, with a lot of armaments in their hands. And but their idea have not changed because still they are resorting to violence. You can see that before you refer to hundreds of thousands of people fleeing Afghanistan. Tens of thousands fled from Kabul airport. At the same time, hundreds of thousands are fleeing through Torham pass to Pakistan or to Uzbekistan or to Iran, to different countries. So that is really kind of the fear of the people. People are fearful. They are running for their life. They think that the Taliban have got a coffin on their shoulder, and every Afghan thinks that I will be the one who will be put in that coffin. So the fear is there. They are so scared and they are running for their life. And I'm pretty sure that everybody right now in Afghanistan, they are really trying to get out one way or the other. So it means that the way the people of Afghanistan recognize the Taliban, the way they have been identified, it has not changed, unfortunately. Probably some of the reports come, they have been trying to really kind of portray a good face. But the real fact is that still we have not seen a change.
Mr. Massoud, your nephew Ahmad Massoud has formed a Panjshir resistance in northern Afghanistan after the fall of Kabul. He joined first Vice President Amrullah Saleh, and but foreign media reported that the Taliban took up positions on the bridge near the entrance to the Peninsula Valley. Do you have any information about the current situation in the Peninsula Valley? Is there a possibility that the Taliban may also take over the Peninsula Valley?
Well, let me put it this way. The Panjshir has been a symbol of the resistance for the past 4 or 5 decades in Afghanistan. So therefore, Panjshir still remains the symbol of the resistance. Now, the difference is between Panjshir resistance and what happened for the 3 months in the different provinces. For the past 3 or 4 months, what happened that was the government was ready to surrender to the Taliban. But the Panjshir resistance is the people motivation, aspiration, the people's will to stand for their right, to protect their homeland, their territory, their soil. So it's a big, big difference. So there's a motivation. So therefore, people who have gone to Panjshir under Ahmad Massoud, who is at the moment taking the command of that one, so they're all the people who are willing to really resist the onslaught of the Taliban. So at the end of the day, if there is a war happen, if the Taliban attack something, maybe it's military things, as something battle, you may see that well, maybe the equation changes, but the resistance will never die. The resistance have started it. Panjshir has been the core point of the resistance. It will expand. And what's more is that because the geography of the resistance have expanded so much now that the women of Afghanistan who have a different belief to the Taliban, they are part of the resistance. They make up half of the population of Afghanistan. The young generation, who makes up 70% of the population, they are part of the resistance because their beliefs is very different to the Taliban. The civil society. So this is big geography of the resistance expanded inside Afghanistan as well as outside Afghanistan. So that is a huge movement that's taking up, is shaping up. So it will never die. Maybe, as I mentioned before, military, it may go that way, this way. We never know because of battle. But politically, that will stay. And again, people's will that will stay. That will stay for as long as it will take.
Mr. Massoud, how will the new situation in Afghanistan affect the South Caucasus and Central Asia, in your opinion? What do you think about that?
Well, of course, what we see that if the Taliban cannot come into term with the resistance forces to form a sort of Afghanistan inclusive government, then of course the terrorist group, whether it's inside the Taliban or terrorist group from outside who have come with the Taliban, there are some terrorist groups from Central Asia, from China, from different countries in Central Asia. They are not there to just sit there because they are not. Their purpose is not to really form the government of Afghanistan. Their purpose is to expand to the areas like Central Asia. They will infiltrate the Central Asian as well. There is no doubt of that's why they came there. So unfortunately, the way the American really behaved in that respect, once again, Afghanistan became the hub of terrorism. And this time, definitely, Americans have said that we have taken a guarantee from Taliban that the interests of America will not be affected. But there is no guarantee that the interests of the Central Asia will not be affected because these terrorist groups have come with the Taliban. They are there right now at this moment, and they are getting ready. And if there is not kind of taking care of such thing, soon there will be infiltration and the Central Asian Republic will be affected.
Thank you so much for your interesting answers, Mr. Massoud.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.